Welcome back to KBOW Partyline 125 here on your Tuesday, February 13th. Fat Tuesday, a day celebrated by guys like Eric Nyland and myself, as bigger guys.
I'm a pretty big guy, let's just be honest.
Do you want to be part of our Fat Tuesday
I
team?
definitely have a round belly, let's just be honest.
Yeah. I got Dunlop disease. My belly Dunlopped over my belt.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
that's awesome.
Me and Nyland. Oh, sorry, Eric. Anyway, we're back on the party line as John McKee joining me today talking about, Butte and Headframe spirits. And you got brought up a topic that I was paying attention last week to the council meeting and a lot of discussion about the Kelley Mine Yard.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. I remember the day, and I think you and Courtney might have even been here at the station cutting an ad, and you were talking about how excited you guys were because you did a deal on the Kelley.
Yeah.
But the investment you were going to have to make, and what your plan was to turn it into a large production facility.
Absolutely.
And you made it.
We're most of the way there, yeah. There's still more to go.
I mean, and I don't know, but I got to ask you, because when we had this conversation, I remember saying, isn't that going to be expensive?
Oh, my gosh.
So yes. Was I right?
Yes, you were.
Because that was, I used to deliver for S.J. Perry when I was in high school and just out of high school. And at that time, the Kelley shops were still open.
Oh, sure.
And I was delivering to the Kelley shops. And I know what shape they were in even then.
Yeah, man.
And so they sat empty for how long?
I think it was somewhere in the order of like 20 or 30 years. And a couple people went in and tried to do stuff. And every time they did it, the building was worse and worse off when they left. And so when we moved in, there was no power, there was no water, there was no heat, there was no lights, there was the sewer line.
All the things you had to have.
Yeah, the sewer line had collapsed, the water lines had frozen and broken. I mean, it was just this. There was a dead deer in the corner of the building. There was like a metro worker.
Edible?
Yeah, it was jerky.
Okay.
But
that's good.
So so we knew this though, because what we had done was we had worked with the county on a community development block grant. So we had looked at spaces in Butte to expand because.
Well, you've been out at MSC.
We've been on MSC.
They had their issues.
That's right. And basically,
they're closed down and
right.
everything.
And they came to us and said, look, you guys are welcome to stay, but we're turning off the power. So, what are you going to do? So we'd gone through the process and we had identified the Kelley, the Con, and then just a bare piece of dirt out at the end of Harrison Avenue. And when everything was rolled up, you did all the analysis on, the buildings and everything you do. The Kelley was really the thing. It was like a perfect spot for us to think about a 50-year, 100-year business in. Like we could build what we needed to build, because, whiskey takes a long time, right? You make a barrel of whiskey, it's 7 years, it's going to sit there. So you need a lot of square footage to just sort of, do this. So the Kelley rose to the top of that investigation. And then when MSE sort of had their problems, we went to the city at the time and said, we're in real trouble. We need to move. And what we've been doing with that development block grant was about buying the buildings. And it was all happening so fast at that moment that what Matt Vincent's executive team did at the time in CESO is they said, hey, this is a real problem. We understand what you're going through. Let's just get you leased right now because we don't even have a chance to do an appraisal on it. We don't even have like a final sign off from ARCO that some of this stuff is ready. So let's get you in there.
I remember that conversation with Matt Vincent.
Yeah,
at the time here on Partyline.
Yeah, I said, let's get you in there. And then, once the dust settles, let's get the building bought. Well, we weren't able to get any dust settled with Vincent's group because there was just stuff still going on. With Palmer's administration, couldn't really get much going there either. There was just, other things to be done, and we couldn't really get the traction to get the building bought during Palmer's administration. And so finally, JP's administration has really stepped forward. And they know that this big contract, this 50-year contract that we're ready to stand up, requires the rest of the building. So right now we occupy about half the building. And for us to go into that half of the building, we had to put in about $800,000 of our own money.
Wow.
And it was on a
lot more expensive than I thought it would be.
Yeah, and it was all on loan. I got to be honest, I don't have that money. I drive a used truck, and I'm a pretty humble guy.
You're like the rest of us, living at debt.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so we put that money into the building, turned it into something we could work in. And now what we're looking to do is the rest of the building up there is sort of just empty storage. There's like parts of there's an old sign in there. There's some other stuff, but basically it's just empty. And the city has been moved. They've been moved out of that for a while. And what we did was we said, well, hey, we still want to buy this building. So it's actually been appraised, and we're negotiating with the executive team right now on what that price is. But in the interim, I'm about to run out of space. I need the other half of the building to keep putting these barrels because we make about 20 barrels a day, and those things take up a lot of square footage. So we sat down with county. We had a bunch of council members come in and community members come in, the chamber come in. We gave tours. We showed what the building was when we took it over and what we've been able to transform it into. We showed sort of the vision of what we need the rest of the space for. And then sat down with the executive team and we wrote an amendment to the lease, which just says, hey, we're ready to take over the rest of this square footage. And that was presented last week in council. And I think
While you were in Costa Rica.
While I was in Costa Rica on the install. And what was really cool about that install, I mean, a lot of people have been joshing with me that I was down there on vacation, but no, I mean, I was down there for 2 weeks and it was 97 degrees, it was 90% humidity, I was moving steel, I was wiring wire, and I was doing that because there's a lot of money that comes back to the Butte community because, again, our contractors here, our parts are here, S.J. Perry, the things that get delivered to us, we pay back that money we're making on that to the Butte community. So, for the since 2016, we have paid over $450,000 in rent up at that facility, on top of the $800,000 we put into it. We also paid the county property taxes on their building for them, and that's just part of the lease. And so we said, hey, we're just ready to take over the rest of it. It looks like it's pretty empty. You guys are all moved out. Executive team and I, we negotiated that out, and we wrote the amended lease. They took it to council, and it was unfortunate because I was in Costa Rica. I couldn't speak to some of the questions that came up, and some of the questions that came up were good ones, but there was some unfortunate misinformation, but certainly not through any intention. It's mostly just like misunderstanding of what this thing is.
Not knowing what was happening.
Yeah, and I think there wasn't, Matt Vincent wasn't there, because a lot of this was negotiated with him, and the previous county attorney wasn't there because it was negotiated with her. So I think there was just a lot of questions no one was prepared to answer, and it was real unfortunate because I think the questions are pretty easily answered. I think they're pretty easily understood. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take over the rest of the building so I can secure the rest, that big contract that I want to stand up for 50 years. The rest of that building does that. And in this calendar year, we're trying to buy the building. So really, this lease amendment we're doing right now is just a temporary thing.
It's a stopgap. So you have some place to store what you're making.
That's it, right? And then buy the building, and the city doesn't have to worry about it ever again. And we'd like to have that done this year. And so really tomorrow night, we're back on the agenda. And luckily, I'm back in town. And I'm going to go up there and try to spend some time answering the questions that came up from last week. Some unfortunate questions. People sort of thought that I had somehow used the building as collateral for a loan to do the work, and it was just sort of nonsensical. I haven't done that. I've never done that. My house is leveraged. I think I leveraged my firstborn child, but I didn't leverage everything that Butte Silver Bow owns to send up the loan to do what we're doing.
First off, what bank would take it if you don't own it? If you didn't have the title, they wouldn't take it as collateral.
Of course. And so I think it was just sort of spun out of control a little bit. And so I guess what I want to do is I want to go up and just assure the council that, one, I've been good with their property. I've taken care of them. I've taken care of
You've improved it.
I've improved it, by quite a bit. And that I've also, with an honest virtue, have not taken advantage of the council, Butte Silver Bow, or the taxpayers in Butte. 12 years ago, it was supposed to be just me and Courtney half-time, and we've stood up 33 people, and we stand up 401k, and we stand up health insurance, and we stand up, and we do all that, and I think I've told it on Bill's podcast a little while ago, I don't mind saying, I pay myself $65,000 a year. That's it. I think a lot of people think I'm a millionaire. I ain't. But what I am is I'm a guy who really cares about Butte America, and I care about business here, and I care about people working here, and I think I want to just set it a little bit more straight to say, hey, all I'm asking to do is just expand my lease and then buy the building out at the end of this year and just sort of change maybe some opinions that came up or some questions that came up and hopefully answer them well.
So. Well, one of the saddest misconceptions that I see on a regular basis is because you own a business, automatically think you're wealthy.
Oh, my God.
And
wouldn't that be great?
Oh, God. Wouldn't I love that?
That would be so awesome.
I always said, show somebody who works 60 to 70 hours a week like I do, and that would work for what I get paid. But you own a business, you're rich. Well, not really. I'm in debt.
Yeah, lots of it, too.
I was 32 years old and almost $2 million in debt.
I think, my numbers are the same, right?
Yeah.
And it's business. That's what you do. Business debt is like, for people who don't own a business, is like you're just a mortgage on your house. Yes, you're in debt to a bank on your house.
For a lot more than your house.
Yeah,
when you're
right.
On a business.
And eventually you're going to pay it off, and eventually you're going to own it all. And we do the same with the debt on our businesses. It helps us stand up a house. Air quoting there for the people who can see me. And that house, though, is jobs for people, and it's investment in our community. And I think that I'm happy with the debt. I'm not happy with any debt. Let me say, I'm okay with the debt.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with the debt. I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm okay with it's how we roll. And
It's okay with the debt, knowing that you can pay it back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you're okay with debt. When you're in business, it's not that, okay, I'm happy that I'm in debt. No, I know I'm in debt, but I know I have the income to take care of that debt.
Well, right, and you've got a business structure built up there too, right? Like when I negotiated the lease back in 2016 with that whole team there, what we did was we built a lease that I could build a business case against, right? And so
then you could go to the banks. Then you could go to the lenders and say, "Here's our business plan."
There you go.
That's what you get the loan on.
And I think that the sort of stressful thing about the conversation with the council last week and the conversation I might have to have tomorrow night is that some of the council members feel that should be renegotiated. And the problem is I've stood up a business built around an understanding and agreement, with the county, and to try to renegotiate that right now, it changes the business model. And I think that that's a really scary thing for a little business to try to think, oh no, I've stood up 20 years of debt and I've got a structured debt service and I'm paying myself 65 because I don't have any more money to pay myself. And they want to renegotiate, or someone wants us to renegotiate. And I think that's just really, it's scary, because, you step into one thing with a thought and an agreement and a handshake. It wasn't a handshake, it's a document, right? Yeah. And I wake up a lot, 3-4 in the morning, and I have this terrified moment about a decision I made the day before. It's like, oh no, was that the one? Is that the one that's going to, crater Headframe? And they never are, but it's the thing you care about.
We do that.
Right. And I think this one, though, is hard
I still do that after 30 years.
Good.
I'm awake at 4 in the morning thinking, oh my God, I got this going on. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to handle this?
Yeah,
what do I got to do here?
And that's real important to hear.
And that's not even talking about the employee issues at times. That's just the business decision.
Right. And as a mentor of mine, as I've told you in the past, even though you don't really acknowledge that, but as a mentor of mine, and many of us,
your bar's really low.
And many of us in the town who follow, who start businesses, I think the thing that you have is that there's decisions you make, and they're okay. You can be scared of those because you can make change to those decisions. Is when someone else tries to make a decision that you don't have influence over, that's the scariest thing of all.
Forcing a decision on you.
Especially when you are responsible. I'm responsible not for 33 people. I'm responsible for 33 people and their husbands and their wives and their kids and their mortgages. And that's
the 15
more stressful.
Businesses at the malt plant, because you're their number one customer.
That's right.
And that was Ron Euland's dream, is to have that malt plant. And those 15 people, because of what you're doing. Yes. And then you take a look at the other people in town that are stood up by your business. You take a look at the S.J. Perry's. You take a look at the electrical shops. You take a look at the people that you buy your items from, with what you build and sell elsewhere. I mean, so
that's how business works. Is the money spreads.
And then and that's why I always say, working together we can float the whole community.
Yeah, rising tide, man.
But if we decide that this one doesn't work, that one doesn't work, all of a sudden we're sinking the community. Mm-hmm. We can't do that. No, I got to take time out though, because other than that, I'm going to be sunk.
Get those ads.
I got to pay the bill. But I want to come back because you talked about buying the building. I want to talk a little bit about that. Okay?
Happily, thank you.
All right, we're continuing along, having a great conversation with John McKee today on the Partyline. By the way, if you'd like to ask a question, make a comment. 406-494-7500. 406-494-7500. Pound 550 on your Verizon Wireless. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the KBOW Party Line. 19 minutes in front of 2 o'clock. John McKee with us today as we're chatting away on the Party Line as, Headframe Spirits, one of those great Butte businesses doing fantastic things for our community. And John's here today. Talk about some of the things going on. When you first... we started, I noticed last week, and that's what kind of led to this, and a friend reached out to me as well, that there was some misconception last week at the council meeting, and it was about your business and the Kelley. And again, I go back to when you and Courtney were here one day, and you were telling me about your dream of the Kelley. Yeah. And I remember telling you guys, oh God, I used to deliver there when I worked at S.J. Perry, and we were talking about it, and I said, I know it's going to cost a lot to get that up to stuff, and again, talked to Matt Vincent on Partyline. He talked about the moving forward with it and how it was going to work and everything. So here we are, 10 years later.
Yeah, about 8 years. 8 to 10, right?
Somewhere in that area. And
16.
And one of the things I know way back when is you talked a little bit about buying them then. And I think the price at that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, is just over $70,000?
Yeah, they had put it out for a public offering for $70,000.
Because you guys originally, that's what kind of got your attention, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. And so they put it out for $70,000, and no one bid. Like, no one stepped up. And we didn't necessarily have and it wasn't that we weren't prepared to pay that at the time, but again, the timing the issue we had with MSC turning off the power and us trying to not have our business fail, that was that stopgap solution. Let's just get you in there on a lease, and then we'll turn around and get the building sold once we get it, And again, sort of just all the circumstances. Here we are 6 years later.
And there were a lot of questions for the public. There was a lot of questions about cleanup.
Yeah.
Because, of course, it's in the Kelley Mine Yard.
That's right.
EPA wasn't releasing it. There was still work to be done with all those
all
things
kinds
at that time.
Well, right. And there was also a bigger project, too, which is still out there. I still want to do, which the bigger project was to take over the old Kelley hoist house and then to take maintenance responsibility for the Kelley hoist. Because no one takes care of that right now.
Wow.
And we said, we want to take that over. We'd like to put a stage underneath it and be like the Eastern stage for the Folk Fest or have outdoor acts. Well, it was all sort of wrapped up into that same plan. And so part of the reason for not purchasing it, too, was that it was like, let's just wait until the CD signed and ARCO turns over that. Well, ARCO still hasn't turned over that property. So as far as that big plan we had up there for the stage and all the restaurant and all that space, that's still the plan. It's just Butte Silverbow doesn't own the property yet, so they can't do the deal with me. So we're still doing that. But in that interim, I haven't decided not to grow. The goal is to grow. The goal is to put more people to work.
The reason you went there is to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I just need a place to go for a couple of months.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, okay, this is a business plan. And it was up for a business option at the time.
Yeah.
Was I right around 70-some thousand?
It was about $70,000. Yeah. Tori Screwcrude was running that for the county trying to sell it.
I remember that.
Yeah. And no one bid.
Nothing.
Nothing. And so
a lot of the conversation then was because everybody's unsure what the cleanup would be. Why would you pay $70 and find something that's going to cost you $7 million to clean?
Exactly, right. And so we got into the place, and we were able to, during the process of the turnover, able to get a lot of those questions answered. And then recently, it was appraised, and the price came back, and the price is doable. But the problem is that the appraisal price right now didn't deduct the $800,000.
I was just going to ask you,
right? So
they didn't appraise it with your improvements.
They did.
So you're going to pay twice.
Well, that's what we're trying
that
to negotiate
goes through,
right now.
right?
I can't afford to pay twice. I mean, it'd be like saying, you paid for your house for 20 years, and then you pay for it again to get your mortgage at the end. I mean, I don't know why. I can't. I'll just say plainly, bluntly. I put $800,000 in a building, and that needs to be deducted from the appraised price, and I'm happy to buy it tomorrow. But right now, we're still negotiating that because I can't afford to pay for it once and then pay for my own money again. And I don't think anyone would think that was really reasonable, and I don't think anyone in the county does either. It's just you have to sort of work through the process, right? Yeah. Everybody needs to have a good chance to understand, which is one of the reasons I'm going to the council.
And that's part of the discussion issue,
yeah,
because people don't understand that. I mean, when you look at the appraisal. And I haven't seen it. I have only been told. But I was told it included your improvements, which I said, so you're going to punish someone for making your property worth more.
By making them pay for it again.
By making them pay for it again.
Yeah.
Because really, that's what you're doing.
And I don't think there's and again, we're still working on that one. Like, we're still negotiating on that one. But again, my problem right now is I'm back to a full house, right? So meaning, like, we're turning sideways to go down hallways to get around barrels right now. And we need the rest of the space. And so what the executive team right now has done, which is great, just like Matt Vincent's team did back in 2016, is they said, hey, let's just amend the lease and get you so you got the space, and then allow that, us and you and the council, to come to an agreement on what the price should be considering your improvements. And then once we're all agreed on that, I can go out and get a loan on that, and we can buy the building. And that'll be great. And, I can stand that up, and that's something I can reasonably do. But, it's these stepwise processes that, how all the sausage is made, and you just sort of have to go step one, step two.
Well, and the problem with that process is at times there's misunderstandings, there's naysayers, you always run into a few of those, and things that get in your way that the thing that makes sense should be easy to do.
Sure. Well, and I think, I am never going to run for public office. Here's why.
Me neither.
I really don't like it when people don't like me. And I know that doesn't mean that I'm not running for office, that people like me, but it's really funny to like walk into some of these meetings and it's just there's an obvious like level of what have I done to you? Like, why are you saying these things or treating me this way? Because I'm sort of don't understand. Like, and all I'm here doing is saying I've got 33 people that I'm responsible for, and an amendment to my lease is going to stand them up for 50 years. And I'll be back this calendar year to buy the building from you once we agree. And I think that's just, it's really strange. And so I guess I have really thin skin is what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to give you some advice.
Okay, thank you.
This is my dad used to always tell me.
Right on.
And when I was getting ready to buy the radio stations, my dad gave me this warning. And I've said it on Partyline 100 times or more. Never forget you live in a mining camp.
Okay.
And in a mining camp, when you're down and out, the camp will raise up and help you.
Yeah.
But in a mining camp, if you raise yourself above the camp, or they perceive you've raised yourself above the camp, they will bring you back down.
Yeah, you said that when I was in here once on Partyline
my
too.
dad used to say that all the time, and it was, I've lived that in my life.
Sure.
It's like, just never forget where you came from.
Well, I think, I went to school at McKinley when it was still school.
I was a Greeley kid.
Right on.
Yeah.
And
not all Greeley kids carried knives, by the way.
Well, that's okay.
My twin brother and I had ice picks in our
right, but all you guys are wusses because you grew up on the flats. So like the rest of us had to push our bikes back.
I see a throwdown. Yeah, so, the bikes you stole from us Greeley kids.
Well, yeah,
Thanks
obviously,
a lot.
and they were nice bikes. But I think to your point you made just a minute ago there is tomorrow night we're on the council agenda tomorrow night. And it's a really important council agenda, actually, because the battery company, Sonata, is going to be there, too. And I think that's
huge.
It's really big. And really considering REC's recent news, it's really important that that's a successful thing. And so I have an ask, and my ask is the people who do support us, or the people who do feel that, we've done good by the community, we've done good by the taxpayers, we've done good by the people that we've tried to put to work, I'd ask you to show up and just say a kind word into the council's microphones, because I'm there, and I'm there to speak very specifically to certain topics and issues and make sure that I'm addressing the council's concerns. But I think, if nothing else, again, back to my thin skin, it'd just be nice to have a couple people say, good on you, Bubba, instead of,
Well, I'll say it right now, right here. I mean, what you're doing and what you've done, you and Courtney and your business plan and your dream.
Yeah. And
I remember the dream. When you first walked into First Citizens with a packet, and that dream, and everybody's like, you're going to make whiskey? I mean, you're going to make money making whiskey?
All right.
And, of course, it's way more than that, but, of course, we were short-sighted. I mean, those people that at the beginning, and now you show them what can happen, what is happening, and what could happen for the next 50 years.
Yeah, right. That part is the part I'm really proud of.
Why would you stand in the way? I mean, I talk about this with Butte Silver government all the time. Get out of the way.
Sure.
Let the community grow.
Sure.
Quit blocking at times.
Sure.
Let it grow.
Well, and I think ultimately the county's always been really, really honest about this. They don't want to be a landlord. That's not what the county does. And they've wanted me to buy that building. It's just, for all the reasons, we're sitting here 8 years after I took the place over, that we're finally getting to a place where we can do this. And I need a temporary, interim lease amendment so I can stand up enough room to keep my businesses going. And then within this year, we come to an agreement on the money I've already put into the place and the final appraisal price. And the county's going to have one more big property that they don't have to worry about anymore.
And get it back on the tax records.
It's on tax records now because I pay the taxes for it.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
Yeah, man. So, but, the right now, it needs $1 million in the roof. Because there are holes that, crows can get through holes in the roof of this building. And
they're probably looking for that turkey deer in the corner.
Right, exactly. So I think what we're trying to do here is say, look, we got this thing, and we'll build it up. We'll keep it going. We'll revitalize it. We'll keep that area of town vibrant. And hopefully here in the next couple of years, when the county does get the Kelley Hoist house and does get the Headframe, that everybody agrees that what we've done up to that point was great, and that they believe and trust in us to go start maintaining the Kelley Headframe, because, like I said, nobody's doing it right now. Concrete's crumbling, paint isn't on it, starting to rust, and it's the one that's not taken care of. And we would love to be the party that says, we'll put our money at saving that piece of Butte, and we'd love to put a stage underneath it and say, look, there's a lot more reasons to go uptown and go to the east side of uptown, and all that's still in our future, and I don't want to lose that for Butte.
I love it. I'm going to take one more time. I'll come back. I got to talk to you about making whiskey.
Yeah, man.
Hey, welcome back to KBOW Partyline. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the secret recipe. No, we're not giving out.
I'll give you the recipe.
A lot of hard work And the right equipment, right?
That
There you go.
stubbornness, lots and lots of stuff.
Okay, so because of you, I have become a fan of Manhattans.
Okay, right on.
Your
Classic cocktail.
Manhattans are just like through the moon.
Yeah, they do a really nice job.
Really, really like them.
Right.
But when you're making this whiskey, so what you're making now, you're talking about this national contract that you have.
Yeah.
So you're sitting up at the Kelley Mine.
That's right.
You're putting out 20 barrels a day. Now, people stop and think this is a drip at a time.
Yeah, well, it's sort of pouring out a hose at a time up there right now. But well, here, listen.
Because of the size of the structure.
I think so. Well, the size of the volume of it too. So so I try to talk about things in gallons and whatnot, and people just sort of glaze over. So let me give you a couple, like, the easiest way to say it. So every 3 days, a grain truck shows up from Montana Craft Malt, and that's 50,000 pounds of grain. So every 3 days, we
50,000
pounds every 3 days.
Wow.
We go through a couple thousand million pounds a year, a couple thousand tons a year. So when that comes in a single day, we'll make about 10,000 gallons of beer. Okay, so that's really all whiskey starts as. It basically starts as Coors Light. Right, so I'm making 10,000 gallons of Coors Light every day. And so 10,000 gallons of Coors Light is maybe the size of the YMCA pool right now, right? And then I have 50,000 gallons of fermenters up there. So at any given time, I've got the old Stodden pool. Remember the Olympic one?
Yeah.
I have that much in beer sitting up there in fermenters every day. So I've got an Olympic-sized pool of beer. And then what I do is I take 10,000...
swimming?
Yeah, man. It's something else. And I take that per day, I'll take 10,000 gallons of that beer, and I'll run it through the still. And that makes about 500 to 700 gallons of whiskey, depending on the day. And then that makes the 20 barrels, right? So basically, the 20 barrels is about a hot tub, all right? So I've taken a swimming pool of beer, and I've turned it into a hot tub of whiskey. So, and along the way, like I said, we stand up like a grain truck every 3 days out of Montana Craft Malt. Then all of our spent grain goes over the hill to a farming operation in Whitehall. And soon here, hopefully, it's going to also start getting amended back into the compost that MR is going to start putting on their caps. So we'll start being part of the compost.
So
for
recycling.
MR. Yeah. So that'll be 50,000 pounds a truck every 3 days going over there. And then we put this whiskey away for 7 years.
7 years, really?
This product is a 7-year product. So we've already been going for 2.5, 3 years, right? We've got 4 years left on this original contract. And that's what sets up the 50-year extension is this product that we're making.
So how many, when that 7-year window hits, how many barrels or how many gallons are you going to have ready to bottle at the end of 7 years?
Well, okay, so sort of get released. So like the stuff I made the first year comes out in the 7th year, and the stuff I made the second year comes out in the 8th year, right? So it's that sort of staggered release.
Okay.
But basically, it's like 500,000 bottles of whiskey a year.
Wow.
I mean, it's just gargantuan, and it was.
And the reason I ask that because that tells everybody the scope, the size, and the need for shape.
It's crazy
For space, I mean.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like,
it's crazy.
Sitting on these barrels is sort of the thing. You can't just like magically like poof, it's whiskey. It has to sit in that oak. It has to age. And again, this client was really adamant. This needed to be Montana grain, and it needed to be mash fermented, distilled in Montana. And they just love us, and they really love Butte. They've been here a lot. They've been here for Folk Fest. They love this place. And they really came to the conclusion it needed to be made in Butte, America.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we're out of time.
Thank you for your time.
But I sure enjoy talking to you. Good luck tomorrow night.
Appreciate
anybody
you.
get up there and say a good word or, stop in after and have a beverage, whatever.
Well, all that. I really appreciate it. And yes, if anyone wants to come up, we would just be really grateful. I think we work really hard. And sometimes in a bubble, because we're working so hard, we don't come up for air, and it's just nice to have people show up and pat us on the back and say we're doing okay. And so if you're willing to show up, we'd be really grateful to have you. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thanks, Bubba.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. You have a great day on the Partyline.